Hi there. In this lecture we see Mikhail Tal playing against Gradus in 1951 Riga Championship. We see e4, e5, knight f3, knight c6. So Mikhail Tal plays the royal Paz, bishop b5. We see a6, bishop a4, knight f6, white castles, bishop e7, rook e1, b5, the bishop goes to b3, d6, c3. So this is the royal Paz closed variation. After knight a5, the bishop drops back, c5. So black does weaken the d5 square in particular here with these pawns on dark squares. And there's an interesting plan here which Mikhail Tal uses, which you can see actually influences Bobby Fischer's treatment of the royal Paz as well. And that plan involves playing for d4 and taking on c5. So we have queen c7, d4, and white after knight bd2, knight c6, when there's pressure being put on d4 now, takes on c5 rather than d5. d5 does give black kind of what they want, a closed position, and they can improve their pieces, and potentially later c5 might be a useful square for black later. So this is an interesting continuation. D takes c5. We see this plan of knight f1 now, where the knight can go via the route e3, not g3, but e3, to give a key option of knight d5. So this is a very interesting plan which was adopted also by Bobby Fischer. Rook d8, queen e2, bishop e6, knight e3. And here we have a very, very vivid example of things going completely wrong for black. Completely misplaying this position. Black plays knight h5, and there's actually this kind of theme of the knight popping into d5 was actually in an episode of Queen's Gambit, that Netflix series which has been very, very popular and has boosted the popularity of chess. They mentioned about, you know, a knight d5 as a kind of springboard. It kind of liberates this bishop potentially, even if it's at the cost of a pawn. This bishop is eyeing a soft spot as in protected by a very, very important, valuable piece that one should keep protected. So it's kind of a soft spot because you don't really want the king to be involved in too many things like protecting pawns. So this whole plan here after knight h5, guess what Mikhail Tal plays in this position for 100 points? Okay. It looks as though, you know, black's been overly ambitious to try and exploit this h3 to try and get a knight on f4, but white stops that just in time. You know, it's precision engineering, knight d5. So hitting the queen, discouraging any knight f4, of course. There's no time for that. Something has to be done about the queen. And we have the move bishop takes d5, e takes, and black's in big trouble. And you might wonder why in this position black is in big trouble, because after all here, if you play queen e4, then there's knight f6 which protects d5 and protects h7. Let's put that on the board. Queen e4, knight f6. Everything's protected, right? Even though, you know, technically white's still got a bit of play, it's technically about even. But there's a much stronger move in this position which really puts a very strong underline for me of this whole knight d5. You know, a concrete punishment game is what we really need sometimes to really underline the liberational aspect of this bishop and the aspect of soft spots around the opponent's king, where it's a really valuable piece to king. These soft spots, if we can somehow resourcefully make use of the so-called soft spots under the most effective conditions possible for the opponent. So there is such a move which emphasizes, in effect, the soft spot aspect and the unprotected piece aspect. There's two potential downsides coming together here for this Mikhail Tal recipe in this position. So what is the move for 200 points? What would you play here as white? And also added to that It's a principal kind of violation move that you're taught never to move pawns around your king. So it is a kind of principal violation move. But this is a circumstance where it's well worth doing that. You want the knight away, in this case, from being able to play knight f6 resourcefully. And black's in big trouble here. If knight f4, which wasn't played then, we just snap that off and play queen e4, hitting d5 and h7. Yeah, we're double attacking both downsides and winning material, winning the rook. So knight f6 was played, but now what's the key point here for 100 points? Okay. g5. Yeah, we want to get rid of that knight. And black desperately plays e4. If the knight moves, yeah, then we're back to queen e4 and without knight f6 now. It's been taken out of the equation essentially in that defense. So the soft spot has been emphasized. The unprotected rook has been emphasized. If g6, yeah, we're just going to take on d5. If the rook moves, you know, we're going to checkmate. A quick 1-2 knockout. So e4 was played in desperation. It just loses material. Mikhail Tal just takes on f6, e takes, now queen takes. So there's two pieces hanging, and there's also an x-ray on a8 here. This is a total disaster. We see rook e5. Okay, hitting the e1 rook. But what does Tal play here, which is simple and strong for 50 points? Yeah, he doesn't mind taking on e5. That knight is actually pinned to the rook. We have queen takes e5. If knight takes e5, yeah, we're just going to take it as check. And then come back, you know, hitting e5 and h7 now. And, you know, this is just a rook up. So queen takes e5 was played. But now, just queen takes c6. Yeah, not minding queen e1. There's no real backfire here. This can be taken. Two pieces again attacked. Let's say rook d8. Yeah, we can afford to do this. Because on check, king g2, this is just easily winning. We can play, for example, bishop e3. And if this, to try and get, there's no attack anyway, the g6 is covered. So this is just, it's hopeless for black. But the game actually ended, you know, actually, at queen takes c6. There's no real counterplay here for black. Even though we've played principle violating moves, you know, moving pawns around the king, black's not in a position to exploit that here, with the rook hanging especially. So I thought this was a very sweet example from one of the themes actually emphasized in one of the Netflix episodes. So that was very, very interesting, I thought. The knight hopping into d5 theme in the closed Ruy Lopez. And it's a theme that, you know, Fischer made use of in many, many games as well. So the knight going to e3 rather than g3. You might have had this stereotypical view of the closed Ruy Lopez. At some point the knight heads for f5. Not always the case. Sometimes you are really interested in liberating this c2 bishop across the diagonal for the soft spot. So I thought an instructive game there. Hope you enjoyed it. Thanks so much. Hi there. Thanks for getting to the end of the YouTube video. If you would like to see other Mikhail Tal games, I actually have an amazing course for Mikhail Tal, which is currently at 4.9 with over 400 students. You can check this out from the Kingscrusher TV page. So Chess Strategy and Tactics, Mikhail Tal's amazing games. You can check out some free preview videos as well here. If you do expand all sections, you can see the preview links to get some free previews. So I hope you do check out this course index and the free previews. So I really had a thrilling time actually checking out Mikhail Tal's games. So yeah, the YouTube video here you saw was just a sample from this course. I hope you check it out. Okay, thanks so much. Oh, by the way, comments, questions, likes, shares, all appreciated. And if you did get to this, you know, part of the video, please do leave some sort of comment like Tal fan. Okay, thanks again.